Welcome back to my channel, where today I have another horror story for you all about Pennywise. So let's jump into it. This story was written by user Red-Eyed Doll. Back when I was 14 years old, maybe 15, I was working at a local pizza place in my town. It was an okay place. Nothing special. The pay was minimum wage and the tips were decent. Me and my two friends worked there. One of my friends, we'll call her Emma, had been working there for a while. She was over 18, so she was working towards getting her real estate license. Her other friend, who we'll call Olivia, was only 16 or 17. She just started working there. We're in Maine, so we get a lot of tourists coming through in the summer. So this one day during the lunch rush, I was taking orders on the phone, and these three women get up to the counter. All three of them were well dressed, and they looked like they were from out of state. So I asked them what they wanted, and one of them says, "I want a pepperoni pizza, please." And I asked her how many toppings she would like with that. "Oh, we'll just share," she says, motioning to the other two women. 2 toppings each. "Okay," I say. "Will that be all?" "Yes," she replied. So I took their order for a large pepperoni with peppers, onions, and mushrooms. They said they'd sit in the back room. No problem. When they walked into the back room, me, Emma, and Olivia looked at each other, and we were kind of taken aback. These ladies were clearly dressed to the nines, but they ordered the cheapest pizza on our menu, which was fine. But then they also refused to tip. When customers didn't tip, that was a new thing. They either tipped really well or not at all. These people were clearly rich, though, so we thought it was pretty weird. The 3 women were sitting at a table by themselves eating the pizza, and the whole time they wouldn't stop talking in hushed voices. Every now and then, one of them would look up and stare off into space. It was kind of creepy, honestly. We all agreed that it was probably best if we just ignored them, so we did. Not long after they finished their pizza, and they left without even saying thank you. Weirdest part about it all, they paid in cash. Normally, when someone pays in cash, they'll hand you the money and say something like, "Keep the change," or "Here's a little extra," but they didn't do any of that. They just paid and left. That was weird. After they left, Emma went back to the camera to check the bill. She told me in love that they only paid for 2 toppings instead of 3. She said she didn't want to make a fuss because it was only a couple dollars, so she just let it go. That night when I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about those women. Something about them just really creeped me out. I tried to shake it off. I went about my normal routine. The next day I went to work again, and those women came back. They sat in the same back room, ordered the same thing, and did the same stuff. It was so weird. Olivia wasn't working that day, so it was just me and Emma. The women came up to the counter, and they said they wanted a large pepperoni, but this time they asked for sausage, onions, and green peppers. I said, "Sorry, ma'am, we don't have green peppers." "Oh, that's all right," she replied. "Then just give us 2 sausage pizzas, please." So I took their order for 2 large sausage pizzas. When they went back to the back room, Emma and I looked at each other, and then we looked at the order. We realized that they technically ordered 3 toppings, but the 3rd topping they requested was green peppers, which we didn't have. So we figured they would want a refund for the difference. But no, they paid full price for the pizzas. When they were done eating, they paid and they left. Again, they were super weird. Emma went back to the receipts, and she saw that they paid for 4 pizzas, but they only ate 2. The receipt said they were a party of 6. Emma and I looked at each other, and we were both freaked out. The next day, Olivia was back, and when the women came in, all 3 of us were ready for them. This time they ordered a cheese, a pepperoni, and a sausage. We agreed that we weren't going to question it, and we just made their pizzas. When they were done, they went to the front counter, and they pulled out a wad of cash. They paid for their food, and they also gave me an extra 20. for doing such a good job, they said. We thanked them, and we watched them leave. They still hadn't said thank you yet, but whatever, they gave us a tip. We went back to the receipts, and we saw that they had paid for 5 pizzas, but they only ate 3. They also left this $20 tip for us. We looked at each other, and we knew we weren't keeping that money, so we put it in the tip jar. The next day they came in again. This time they ordered a cheese, a pepperoni, and a sausage. And when they went to pay, one of the women handed me this envelope. She said, "For your troubles." I said, No, I don't need this," but she insisted. I opened the envelope, and it was filled with cash. They paid for their food, and they left. This happened 2 more times. Each time they came in, they ordered a different combination of pizzas. And each time they paid for 1 extra pizza, and they gave us an envelope filled with cash. It was always the same amount, too. The last time they came in, Olivia noticed that the women were wearing matching outfits, and they were carrying these matching duffel bags. Olivia called the police, and when the women left, the cops came and they took the envelopes. Turns out the envelopes were full of counterfeit money. They busted those women for trying to pass the fake bills, and they never came back to our store. And that's the end of that story. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time. Bye.